Good evening, everyone. Thank you for attending my seller webinar. Welcome. Welcome, Larry. Thank you for joining me as well. Tonight, I'm going to talk about three things that every seller needs to know before listing their property in 2025, even if you're just thinking about selling. Okay, so here's an introduction about me. My name is Heather Cooper. I've been a Compass agent for 5 years. I've been a residential real estate agent for over 15 years. And today I'm going to talk about the sales market and what is going on if you wanted to sell your apartment, whether it be a condo, a co-op, or whether it be now, or whether it be 6 months from now. So here's a little bit of information about me. And now Larry Chaffetz is going to tell you a little bit of information about him.
Hello, I am Larry Chaffetz, officially Lawrence Chaffetz, and I'm with the firm of Chaffetz and Chaffetz. We are located in Midtown Manhattan in Times Square area, and I have been a real estate attorney for over 37 years, and we handle all types of real estate matters, the plain vanilla matters where people are buying or selling co-op or condominium apartments, and also the more specialty deals where people are buying from sponsors or new developments or buying multifamily units or any type of issues in regard to purchasing or selling real estate. We are very attentive to purchasers' needs and very experienced in the process of representing either first-time home buyers or seasoned professionals. So we're happy to assist you in any fashion or form in any type of real estate matter that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. It is always great to hear about you and about your wealth of experience. So, what is the first secret? Well, everybody's dying to know that pricing isn't everything. Why isn't pricing everything? It's all about positioning your property. Why do you need to position your property? Well, you need to make sure that you think about you need to think about the presentation, how you present the property, what color paint is on the walls, is the apartment cluttered? How does it show? Is there enough light? Do you need to change the light bulbs? So all of these things really need to be taken into consideration when you're considering selling. Secret number two. Yes, your first impression means everything. So what does that mean? When a buyer first walks into the apartment, you really need to have it in top showing shape. You know why? Because the first impression when a buyer walks in and what he thinks will definitely, it could lead to an offer or it could lead to the buyer walking out of the apartment and making an offer on something else. You always want the apartment to look in great shape whenever a buyer is coming in to see the apartment. And that is the first time, the first open house. Yes. Okay, secret number three. Yes, that is me. The agent that you choose changes everything. So essentially, it is really with my depth of knowledge, experience, and working for a company like Compass, I really can say that all of these things coupled together will really make or break the experience. I'm not an agent who just presents a listing and puts it on the market. I will certainly call other agents who have sold in the building, who have sold in the area. I also do video marketing. I also do social media, and I have a database of over 10,000 people in it. So you're certainly in good hands when you hire somebody like myself. So the 2025 market reality, it's a little different than 2021, where apartments were flying off the shelf. Basically, inventory has shifted. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market. What's happening with the tariffs, what's happening with the stock market, what is also happening with interest rates. A lot of people are on pause. So if you price an apartment properly, then apartments will move. If an apartment is overpriced, then it unfortunately will sit on the market. There's a lot of savvy buyers out there who are definitely following the market, and they're definitely on Compass, they're on Street Easy, and they know what's going on, and they're the first ones to see price drops. They're the first ones to see what comes on the market. So there are savvy buyers out there. Okay, so what do today's buyers want? Well, buyers always want value, of course. Buyers want light. Buyers also want something that is turnkey. Buyers are shopping on Street Easy, on Compass. They're also searching on Instagram. Sometimes even before they call me, before I know that they're interested in purchasing, they've been looking around for 6 months before they even hire a broker. So, these buyers are quite savvy. So you have to make sure that your home shows well online. So what does that mean? Professional floor plans, videography, professional photos. And that could mean virtual staging as well, or that could mean professional staging. Sometimes a little investing, some money will get you more of a return in the end. So, what do you do when you prepare your home to sell? As I just mentioned before, you can make the investment of staging, and that could be virtual staging, where a lot of times I personally pay for the staging photos, or you can hire a professional stager who can actually come in, bring their own furniture, and they can do that. And you can also hire somebody to declutter. You can change the lighting. You can do light renovations. Maybe it's painting cabinets. Maybe it's replacing the vanity, or maybe it's regrouting or reglazing the tub. All of these little things make a huge difference. And I really guide sellers to strategic updates um, with vetted vendors. So the pricing strategy that works, overpricing really kills the momentum. Your best offer usually comes within the first 3 weeks. So essentially, what do? I use local comparables, building history. It's not guesswork. It really isn't. It's really what's going on in the area. And a lot of times I compare what's happening now with when the seller purchased the apartment because it really makes a difference. Um, yeah, so Compass has what's called a three-phase marketing strategy. Many of my sellers start out listing their property this way. Now, why do they do that? Well, they do that for a couple of reasons. Maybe the apartment is in the middle of renovations. Maybe they want to test a higher price, and that would be called a private exclusive. So basically, they can list a private exclusive for, I don't know, they can do it for a day or they could do it for a couple of months. This is really just to test the price, or to put it on the market, while a seller is doing some last minute touch-ups or doing some renovations, because days on the market do not accrue, and days on the market is certainly a killer for sellers, because most buyers will come and they'll say, "Oh, what is wrong with the property?" And phase two is coming soon. So what is coming soon? So basically, if you have a private exclusive on the market, a week, 2 weeks, basically you then do coming soon for 24 hours. So it basically hits the Compass platform before it hits Street Easy, which will generate higher traffic to your listing. And then we usually do 1 week for a Facebook ad. And then after 24 hours, it will go live on all platforms, meaning Compass, Street Easy, Zillow, and Urban Digs, and everywhere else. So this is a really good strategy. So, once I get a signed exclusive agreement, I start with the preparation. I do professional photos, I do open houses, I really manage the vendors. Um, I work with other brokers. I also work on the board packages, whether it be electronic board packages or paper board packages, and I really communicate with you as a seller effectively, and I communicate once a week with how many showings, all of the feedback, and I give you all of the activity that I have gotten from brokers and from buyers. So what do sellers net? And I think Larry could probably speak to this.
Sure, absolutely. So one of the things before we even get to what sellers net, I just wanted to comment on one or two things that Heather had spoken about it and that I think are really important, and what additional value added a real estate broker like Heather can add to someone's either sale process or purchase process of an apartment. What for me as a lawyer, what a real estate broker brings to the table is that they have the knowledge of the market and of the particular building that either you're selling your apartment in or that you're buying an apartment in. And so that is invaluable knowledge that you as an individual just wouldn't have, because it's not part of your knowledge that you would have, because it's not your work and you're not doing this every day and you don't have all the information at your fingertips. And even if you went and searched the internet, you still wouldn't have that information. And when that gives to you is the best leg up on getting approved, especially with a cooperative apartment, either to sell your apartment or to buy your apartment. And why that's important is because you're investing so much time and energy in trying to, let's just say, on sell your apartment with the staging and with the renovations. And you want to make sure you give yourself the best opportunity to choose the best buyer, which doesn't necessarily mean the best price, but the best buyer. And that is the person that's best suited to get the approval of the board. And that's a very a detailed process, which Heather is very experienced in and who can assist in helping you make that decision. And that is an invaluable piece of information and experience that every buyer needs to make sure that their purchaser can get approved by the board and has the proper credentials to get the loan if they're getting a loan, and has the proper credentials to pass the board for approval. And that's something really important that people don't pay a lot of attention to. And unfortunately, the people who are unprepared and maybe don't have real estate brokers that are as prepared as Heather are, after this whole process, which sometimes can take up to 90 days, unfortunately, could not get the approval of the board. And at that point in time, there's not much that you can do. You can't convince them and usually to try to, to change their minds. You've now lost all this time, 90 days of having the apartment off the market, and now you lose your buyer because in many instances the specific information wasn't obtained by them or the proper vetting of that person wasn't made. So you want to make sure that you use somebody like Heather who is going to give you the best opportunity of having your uh, buyer approved and that you're going to get this sale done as quickly as possible. Um, Moving on to what sellers will net is also an important aspect of the sale process. And in some buildings, there's what's called a transfer tax or flip tax, and that is a fee that a building charges when someone sells an apartment. Most buildings, the fee is assigned to the seller, but there are some buildings that the fee is assigned to the purchaser. And there are some situations where there's a negotiation between the buyer and the seller to pay a portion of the fee where each party pays a portion of that fee. And that fee can be that transfer fee or flip tax can be anywhere from determined based upon the person's gain on the apartment, which sometimes there's a calculation that buildings use to figure out what the gain is, or it can be a straight percentage of the sales price, usually somewhere between 1% and 3%. And that's obviously can be a large number with larger sale prices. And that's going to be could be one of your larger closing expenses. You also obviously will have a brokerage commission that you have to pay as part of your expenses. And again, that is negotiated with your real estate broker as to what fees are being paid by you as the seller, whether you're also going to be paying the buyer's brokerage commission, and that's something that you will negotiate with Heather at the time that you place your apartment on the market. One of the other things that you're going to pay is that you're going to have to pay what's called the New York City Real Property Transfer Tax. That is a tax that you have to pay to New York City as part of the sales price of the apartment. And that tax is 1% when the sales price is less than 500,000, and it's 1.4% when the sales price is over 500,000. That doesn't matter whether you purchased the apartment 3 months ago and now you're selling it. Whenever you sell the apartment, you have to pay this transfer tax. There's also a New York State transfer tax, which is $4 per $1,000 of consideration that a seller has to pay upon the sale of an apartment. Um, if you're a buyer and the purchase price is above $1 million, then you will pay a mansion tax from $1 of 1% of the purchase price when the purchase price is between 1 million and 2 million, and then 1.25% when it's between 2 million and 3 million, and then 1.5% when it's 3 million to 4 million, and it keeps on going up after that. So one of the things that we help provide clients when they're selling their apartment is kind of a listing of these expenses so that they can understand what they have to pay when they sell their apartment. One of the other things to always remember is that if you have a loan on the apartment, That loan also has to be paid off at the time of the closing. And then, of course, you'll also have your attorney's fees that you'll have to pay. And there are sometimes some fees that the managing agent or transfer agent will charge in preparing the closing documents. Some buildings also charge move out fees and move out bonds that also have to be paid. So there are a bunch of fees that have to be paid. However, we will itemize those fees for you so you can see what the estimated net amount would be after all of these expenses are paid, and that you'll have what monies you'll have available to you after the closing occurs.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Thank you. There's a lot of, there are a lot of nuances. And of course, if anybody wanted a net sheet or a comparative market valuation of their apartment, I'm more than happy to provide that to you. So, okay, well, I don't know if some of you may have logged on late, but just to reiterate, I have over 15 years of experience, 5 years working with Compass. I grew up in New York City. I actually grew up in the Bronx, but I've been living on the Upper East Side for over 20 years. And every sale, every client, I'm here to build relationships. I treat every sale, every seller like it's my own. I will be strategic about pricing your apartment, always professional and always fully invested in your success with getting to the finish line. And what is that? That's with, getting you the highest price in the shortest amount of time. So, we will go through the comparables and we will discuss, your timeline. And yeah, I mean, better pricing is less time on the market and smoother closings. And yeah, if you would like a custom home valuation, or if you want to discuss timing or something in particular, about your apartment, or even if you have questions, if you should renovate your apartment, if it's worth it, or maybe even painting your apartment or selling it with a tenant in place, if that's something that you have, I'm more than happy to have a conversation. We can meet, we can do a Zoom, whatever is most convenient. Thank you so much. So feel free to scan the QR code if you wanted to book a one-to-one consultation with me. And if any of you have any questions, we can certainly um we can certainly pull you up on the screen. You're more than welcome to get on video or not. You can, I would love to see your face, or you could just ask your question. Um, you can unmute yourself. Do any of you have any questions? Maybe about your particular.
So we do have Abril here who is asking if this event is only for apartment owners.
No, if you owned a townhouse or if you owned a home, um, I could certainly help with that. I have partners here at Compass. Abril, where do you own a home? Is it in New York City or is it in like Brooklyn or Queens?
They say it's in Queens. And Abril, if you go ahead and change the chat so you're chatting to everyone, so Heather and Lawrence can both see it because you're sending it directly to me. But yes, they say Queens, Heather.
Okay, okay, yeah, I can certainly help in Queens. Where is it in Queens? What happened?
Uh, it looks like they were disconnected.
Okay, okay. Well, I can certainly reach out to her tomorrow. I know that there's one other person here.
Yep. So I think it would be best if we just followed up with the folks that did join and no questions. All
Okay.
right. Well, thank you so much for attending, everyone. It was a great session, great information.
If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You can call, you can text, or you can scan the QR code. And thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you. Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.